The Chesapeake Bay was not just a place of work and water. It was a battleground. Not between armies, but between neighbors. Not over borders, but over oysters. Archaeologists have discovered that human consumption of oysters dates to at least the Neanderthal times. The ancient Greeks and Romans relished oysters. Huge shell middens in the Chesapeake region attest to the Native Americans' reliance on this rich source of protein, sustainably harvesting them for thousands of years before the Europeans arrived. Colonists of the 1600s didn't consider the oyster a delicacy, but a staple for survival. By the 1800s, oysters weren't just food. They were money. They were power. In Baltimore, Washington, Philadelphia, and New York, the oyster boom was fueling entire industries. Shuckers, packers, railroads, and restaurants all depended on the bay's harvest. But two groups of watermen clashed over how to bring them up from the deep. The tongers, traditionalists, worked with long iron tongs, pulling oysters slowly but sustainably. They saw themselves as stewards of the bay, balancing the needs of the harvest enough to sustain themselves and earn a living, while ensuring the oyster beds remained intact. Then came the dredgers from New England. After they had exhausted their own seabeds of oysters, they sailed the Chesapeake Bay and dragged heavy iron cages across the bottom, ripping up bushels by the ton. Profitable, fast, and destructive. To the tongers, dredging was theft, stealing the future of the fishery. To the dredgers, tongers were obstacles standing in the way of fortune. Shotguns replaced handshakes. Men fired warning shots over oyster beds. For nearly 100 years, beginning in 1865, the Chesapeake became a lawless frontier of outlaws and pirates who risked their lives for profit. Both Maryland and Virginia tried to pass laws banning dredging, limiting outsiders, requiring licenses, but the laws were nearly impossible to enforce. Few patrol boats, fewer officers, and hundreds of desperate men willing to risk everything. As one federal observer wrote, the dredgers are the most depraved body of workmen who regard neither the laws of God nor man. By the 1880s, it was open war on the water. In 1868, Maryland created an oyster navy. Its first commander was Hunter Davidson, a Kent Islander and Naval Academy graduate. Davidson's charges were to bring order to the lawlessness on the bay and enforce oyster harvesting laws. Though he was personally equal to the task, the oyster navy wasn't. It was outgunned and outmaneuvered by waterman pirates at every turn. Virginia's governor, William Evelyn Cameron, was determined to bring order. A former Confederate officer, he wanted to show strength and win glory. In 1882, Cameron personally led a raid, capturing 5 vessels and dozens of pirates. At first, he was hailed a hero, but then his mercy backfired. He freed many of the men who soon returned to dredging with a vengeance. By early 1883, Cameron needed another victory. This time, he would lead 2 state gunboats packed with lawmen and reporters eager for a front-page story of triumph. And then fate delivered him a target. The sloop Dancing Molly lay at anchor, her crew ashore gathering supplies. Only 3 souls remained aboard, the pirate captain's wife and his 2 daughters. The governor thought it would be easy, so he ordered a full-speed charge. Cannons loaded and reporters ready. But the women refused to surrender. The mother seized the helm. Her daughters loosed the sails. And together, they aimed the Dancing Molly straight into the teeth of danger. Shot after shot splashed around them. The steamer closed fast. For a breathless moment, the race was neck and neck. Then, wind filled their sails. The Dancing Molly leapt forward. The women pulled ahead, leaving the governor's mighty gunboat floundering in their wake. On shore, Virginians who despise pirates couldn't help themselves. Watching 3 women outwit their own governor, they broke into cheers. The petticoated pirates had triumphed. The story spread like wildfire. Newspapers nationwide mocked Cameron. Editorial cartoons painted him as a fool. And Norfolk, a comic opera, lampooned him as King Cameron drunk on rum. Verses and poems praised the fearless women of the Dancing Molly. One poet wrote, "With fearless hand they guide the prow that cleaves the rushing tide. With both our boats, we failed to catch one single pirate's bride." Governor Cameron served just 1 term. He did succeed in creating Virginia's first Oyster police force, but his reputation never recovered from the embarrassment of the Dancing Molly. And the women? Their names are lost to history. But for one daring moment, they proved that when a woman wills, she is certain to succeed. The Chesapeake Bay remembers them as legends, the plucky petticoated pirates who outsailed a governor. Times have changed, and today, the entire oyster harvest in Maryland is counted in tens of thousands of bushels of oysters a year, a far cry from Maryland's total harvest in the 1880s, which ran between 5 and 10 million bushels of oysters each year. It was 130 years ago that 1 million bushels of oysters was harvested in Dorchester County's Choptank and Little Choptank waters alone. Sustainable management of the Chesapeake Bay's resources is essential for both the natural environment and the human community.